Yeah, g'day scrappers. Thought I'd do a complete PC scrap out today. I might actually do two of them just to get a better example of what I do to scrap them completely. That's from taking all the components out right down to depopulating the boards, the whole lot. So yeah, just so we can see at the end what we can get for precious metal recovery. So what I'll probably do is I might pick a couple out here, maybe a newer one and one of these older type of ones, and see what we can get out of it. There might be a few of these Dell servers in here that I might do one of them too. I've got a few other server kind of things here that I might pick a server out, but yeah, mostly just want to get a modern PC tower and one slightly older, maybe 15 or 20 years old, and we see what we can get out of them. Alright, so stay tuned and try and watch right up to the end if you can, because that's when I'll probably get into the better stuff, start depopulating the boards. I'll show you how I depopulate motherboards, and we'll see what we get at the end of it. Okay, so I've picked out a newer PC. I was going to do a 2 or 3, but I thought it's probably going to just take a little bit too long for the video. So yeah, and I figured, well, a newer PC is basically what most people are going to be doing anyway. So yeah, we're just going to do one. So yeah, what I was going to do is just basically scrap it out completely and have a look at what we get out of an average PC, and then do everything that pretty much I do as far as depopulating the boards and stuff like that. Alright, so I'll just make a quick start. So we obviously got a hard drive. It looks like there's 3 slot cards in here, your power supply and your motherboard. So we'll get into it and see how we go. I suppose the first thing is get out this hard drive. Now this hard drive's it's 160 gigabytes, so it's about the lowest at the moment that I think is okay still to pass on. But usually I format and sell the 250 gig and above. Usually 160 is about the entry level these days. Most people want 500 gig and 1 terabyte and above. So not really worth selling this one. And as I'll show you with the I'll just get this plate out. And even the late model hard drives, the boards are really small on them, and so there's really not much value in the boards for gold recovery. You still got some pins, and the other side you'll have some stuff on there, but as you can see, the boards are so small that they don't really give you much value to scrap these hard drives out. But unfortunately, because it's only 160 gig, it's not really worth selling anymore. You can obviously sell these cords, but once you get a few, they just build up so much. I just prefer to remove the pins and so on. So yeah, we've got some slot cards here. So nice video graphics card. Another card there, and the Ethernet card. So all I'm going to do is basically scrap everything out and just show you what we get, and I'll show you what I do with them at the end of it. So hang around until I get to the last bits. Obviously these plugs are all got the little gold pins inside, so I remove all these pins, all these plugs, and sell the wire as insulator wire. Even the USB type of plugs all got a bit of gold. Alright, I'll just get out this, I've undone a couple of screws. So, oh yeah, there's an extra spare fan. So, you know, because this fan's got the cord and everything, you can keep it for a spare, but otherwise you just take off the wire and I can take out the little motor out of there. Same with these. Take these pins out. I cut out the plugs and remove the pins later on. A lot of times, you know, these little ones are gold pins, but in this case there's no gold pins in this one. Get this. Get the power supply unit out. So basically with power supply units you can open them up and remove all the copper or stuff. A lot of people just sell the power units. I prefer to sell the power units as they are and just cut the cords like that. But if you don't sell your power units and you're just going for the copper and stuff, then this one here, that's just one nice wad. Here there's a little SATA plug, so I'll cut the SATA plug off, put this in for gold pins inside here. The rest don't have gold pins, so there's another one here we can take. In there's some gold pins as well. So to start, so we've got some insulated wire, nice little chunk. Power supply, I'll just sell it like this, but if you want you can open these up and get the transformer out, the motor, the for the fan, aluminium heat sinks, a little bit more wire and so on, but it just takes a bit of time. So just depending on how many you do, if you do a lot of PCs you'll probably get sick of opening up power supply units. So now I'll just get the motherboard out. Few screws. Okay, so I've got the motherboard out. First thing I do, I just remove the little battery, just to get rid of that. And we've got our main heatsink and fan. Okay, so with this fan, can remove this fan and, you know, sell this part as the motor. And I'll just, if I wipe off this, as you can see this heatsink's got a nice copper rod, so I'll remove this copper rod out of this extruded heatsink. I'll do this, I'll show you what I do with that. I've got a one RAM stick. It's looks like it's 1 gig of RAM. So 1 gig RAM sticks don't really sell for much anymore. They used to be okay, but these days minimum of 2 gigs. CPU, remove that and just wipe this stuff. I always read the back of the CPU. In this case it's looks like it's a Pentium D. So these Pentium Ds or Pentium 4s, they're not worth selling. They're just throw it in with your gold recovery. But if it's a dual core or quad core i7 or something like that, obviously you want to check the serial number on the back, and you can sell these if you look after them. but otherwise this one is just for gold recovery. And we've got the motherboard, and so I'll show you what I do with these modern ones. They don't really have a great deal of stuff on them. Got some MLCCs inside here. You know, we've got some IC chips, flat pack under this heat sink. We're also going to have a nice chip. Get it off. And with these empty towers, you just throw in all your steel bits, you know, so like junk from televisions, throw them in, fill this up, put the top back on, and send this complete, you know, with all your scrap, even plugs that I remove the brass bit, steel, whatever, old tin cans, throw them in, and it's a really good steel bin. So when you put the cover back on, put the screw on, you've got a really nice heavy package to send to your scrapyard. So this here is just a little bit of extruded aluminium. So we put this in the extruded bucket. It's the higher value aluminium, good quality stuff. And so yeah, so we just got a motherboard here. It's a very basic one, but I'm going to depopulate it, remove the pins, the chips, and the whole lot. Pretty much everything that I want out of it. Anything that's got gold plating, anything else like these aluminium capacitors, I'll just try and leave as many as I can on the board, because there's no value there for me, but you know, I can still sell the board once it's depopulated for a bit of cash. And finally, it's just the DVD drive, and I've got a little so I get out the DVD drive, and all I do with this one, whilst I'm scrapping the PC, I open these up straight away. Don't let these build up, because you know, they just give you more work, and all I want is the board. So we'll keep the DVD board. We've got some gold pins in here. We've got some flat packs to take off, IC chips. It's another board. A little bit of ribbon wire with some gold on the ends. Very little, but all adds up. A lot of people like to keep these DVD eyes, the readers. I do too. I just keep them. I don't know why, but I started off collecting these a couple years ago. So since I started collecting them, you know, I've been building up bucketfuls of these. You know, there's a whole mixture of metals in these. You got, you know, the surrounding is like aluminium. You're probably going to have a little bit of silver, sometimes a bit of gold in these pins. There's a bit of gold plating, but you know, no one's really sort of looked into these to see what's actually, you know, all the different metals that's inside. So just in case there's something quite valuable in these, I thought I'm going to keep them, because one day, you know, someone's going to turn around and say, oh, by the way, you know, these DVD readers have got palladium in there and platinum or something, you know, and they're very valuable. So I'm just keeping these for now. But you could also get away with throwing this into your motor bucket, I suppose. You know, if you throw them in, mix them in with the motors, you'd probably get away with that too. But I prefer to just keep them and build up a collection. And then the last thing I take out, I don't worry about the little motor. There's a tiny little motor there, just too fiddly to get it out for not even 1 cent value. But this rod is always usually brass, so I just pull that out. Sometimes it just breaks off, and that's a little bit of brass, that's all, rather than throwing it in. The rest, this is just scrap metal. Throw it in with the rest. The only other thing is, if I can get to it, is going to be just a little USB card for the slot for the front. This one's a little bit awkward to get to, but I'll just get it out. So give me a minute. If I can. Yeah, but there you go. So it's just a little little board with the USB plugs for the front of the PC, some little connectors. So not a lot on this. I'll just cut off the wire, but I'll keep this and I'll remove these little plugs. I just throw this whole thing in with my plugs until I get around to removing the gold pins. And yeah, as I said, a bit of wire. So these modern day PCs, they're very, very quick, not much to them. These fans, I just snap the corners, take out a bit of wire. And these fans, you can throw these in with motors. Sometimes if you want to just make it look more like a motor, just in case, depending on your scrapyard. So I like to sometimes take the fins off the fan, and that way there's no question what it is. It's a motor now, you know. And I'll do the same with this fan, and I'll take off this, and yeah. So I'll just clean up around here now, and I'll show you what I'll take some of this stuff inside, and we'll start to depopulate them. Remove anything that like these boards, these slot cards, they don't have any MLCCs really on them that I can see much. This video card, if I can get off this. Okay, so if you take out the fan, it's got little screws in there. If we take that fan out, the rest will be extruded aluminium again. And so this board here, there's not a lot of MLCCs or anything on there, so all we want to do is remove these flat packs and take the pins and take these ends off. Alright, so I'll come back with the next step. But that's it, that's the PC done. And as I said, you can throw your scrap steel in there, and when you're finished, put the cover back on and send this off as scrap steel. Alright. Okay, so what we end up getting is obviously the power supply unit. We've got three little motors here that we can put into the motor and transformer bucket. And got some low-grade insulated wire and some mid-grade insulated wire, mostly from the power supply unit. So we've got the motherboard. Now I'm going to run off and depopulate this, so I'll show you this next. We've got the hard drive, which I'm going to just leave complete because it's not worth selling, and it's not really worth scrapping out for me, because once you remove that board, then you can't really sell the hard drive complete. You have to then scrap the whole thing, and I can't, you know, I don't have enough time to scrap hard drives unless they're the old style and they've got really good boards. I've got the DVD reader, a little bit of brass. Got the DVD board, which is not much to depopulating. It's just a matter of taking these gold pins off and just a few IC chips, that's all. And then the rest I sell as a depopulated board. I've got the main heatsink, which has the copper core inside it. And what I do is I use one of those printer rods, and I put this in a vise, and I put the rod in, and I just belt it with a hammer and knock these printer rod, this copper rod out. Another way you can do it is if you've got an angle grinder, you can just cut one side of the aluminium, open it up, and this copper rod will pop out, right? So they're well worth getting that little bit of copper out, because adds up pretty quick. One ram stick, one CPU, a couple extra pieces of extruded aluminium, and got these 3 slot cards. Now with these slot cards, in some cases they're worth actually selling as slot cards rather than depopulating them. Like in this one, there's really not a lot on there to depopulate. Like all these aluminium capacitors, you know, there's no point in removing them because there's no precious metals in here, so might as well leave them on to get more weight. And so I'm still debating whether to depopulate these ones or just sell them as slot cards, because you get pretty good value as a slot card. But you know, if not, you know, you can always remove these gold pins, and you know, you got the fingers and little pins and that. So I'm not going to depopulate these at the moment. I'll just put these in with my slot cards because I haven't done any slot cards yet. So I'll just add these to the collection for now. And last thing is just all the pins, all the plugs that I've taken out, the IDE plugs, the SATA plugs, and any other little plugs that I've removed. So all this just goes into the plug bucket, and for one day to remove all the pins and put these away as gold pins. So I'll just all I've got left to do here is just to depopulate this board, and we're done. Okay, so here I am with my trusty little air hammer, and I'm just going to finish off by depopulating this board, and then we're done. So basically all I want is the gold pins coming from here. I want the flat packs and the CPU mount. There's gold pins all under here, inside there. The MLCCs will come out. The RAM stick slots will have gold pins. There's gold pins along here, and around the edge there's some gold pins along here that we want to get off. Around this side, mostly want to, you know, I'll probably end up getting most of this off because they're all got gold pins all in there and there. There's no gold pins really in here, but I usually get this off just to get to these, maybe even that one. But yeah, so basically we want the chips, the gold pins, and that's it. So I'll start off with this large section here. Okay, so they're the main pins that we want. So we've got them off now, nice and easy, and obviously there's still a way to go to get the gold pins out of them, but that's for another day. It's another job, and as I said, there's nothing in this one. So now I'll just go for these main gold pins here, IC chip here. They just pop off nice and easy. Gold pins. There's no gold pins in there. Okay, so now that where are we? Like these ram slots we've taken out, now they've bent over one side. Now we just go over to the other side, we go this way and we take them off. Okay, so we've got most of them off. The other side. Okay, I'll just turn off the compressor. All right. Okay, so now we've depopulated this board as much as I want to. I don't want to take off anything that I don't need to, because I want to sell the board as it is. So all these aluminium capacitors and stuff, they can stay on as they are. That way I get more value for the depopulated board. And then we've got our collection of stuff here. Got to sort through it. Basically, this is all the gold pins, all in there. Gold pins in there. We've got our main two chips, BGA chip and the main chip there. So they're our best value, and then some smaller IC chips as well, and then as you can see, all these gold pins here. We'll collect these as well as little IC chips and stuff. I have a little bucket here where I put all little crumbles and stuff like that, and I sort through that another day. But for now, all we wanted, this is my little depopulating station, so I just keep bringing in boards. I've got a lot of boards down here ready to do, and but this is basically what I do with a motherboard. And so everything that's of value is off this for precious metal. I mean, obviously there's more precious metals on it, but the rest we can't really get to. It's mostly the gold and stuff and the palladium from MLCCs. So I'll still get good value for this by selling it for about, at the moment it's about 30 cents a pound. I'm getting about 70 cents a kilo. So that's good enough for a depopulated board. The main thing I want is all the gold recovery bits, your main chips, gold pins, all that sort of stuff. All the crumble down here, it's all little IC chips, MLCCs, maybe some resistors, and a lot of these gold pins. So I want all of that. So job done. All right. Well, that's scrapping a PC my style. Everyone's got their own style, what they do, and a lot of people just sell the boards, but I prefer to depopulate them and try and get best value for money out of the precious metal recovery stuff. All right, so well, that's it guys. Keep scrapping, have fun, and I'll catch you next time.